Here we have problem PA4-2, which is an activity-based costing ABC or activity-based costing problem. It shows a difference between the differences in overhead allocation to different products or different models based on more traditional allocation methods, which is what they're showing us in number one, uh, as compared to overhead allocation in the ABC model, which is what they are showing us in requirement number two. So I think it helps to have an understanding of overhead in any situation where you have multiple products and overhead is relatively difficult to isolate in terms of what product it would apply to. You know, your overhead is your, I guess you could call your overhead your general manufacturing costs, whereas with costs such as direct materials and direct labor, they are much easier to identify with respect to a specific product. You know what materials are going into product A, you know what materials are going into product B, and so forth. You know what labor, direct labor, is going into product A. You know what direct labor is going into product B, and so forth. Whereas with overhead, um, it's very difficult or really impossible to identify overhead costs specifically by different products. And so what is needed is an allocation procedure or method. And ABC, or activity-based costing, is a method that has been used for quite some time by companies that uh, need a good allocation method for their overhead allocation to their various products. So let's take a look at this. We have a situation here. Carlisle Corp, they make ceiling fans. They have two different model lines, an indoor and an outdoor line. So they have basically two products. And their total overhead in the problem here is 126,265. Now, the information presented below will be used by us to basically come up with the overhead allocations for the various allocation methodologies that the problem will ask us for. And so when you have an ABC, or activity-based costing method or system in place, what you do is you set up what is called costing pools or cost pools that would, I guess, serve to differentiate the different types of overhead by what would be called an activity description. So in this case, we have materials handling, which is one cost pool, quality control, another cost pool, and machine maintenance, a third cost pool. Now, for each cost pool, the company would come up with what is referred to as a cost driver. In other words, what activity that occurs within that cost pool, what activity would provide the best measure of cost for allocation purposes. So for materials handling, they use the number of moves. How many times are materials being moved? For quality control, they use the number of inspections. And finally, for machine maintenance, the cost driver is number of machine hours. So you can see, I think, that the cost driver for each activity cost pool is very closely related to what actually happens in terms of the manufacturing process, what actually happens in each activity cost pool. And then we have costs assigned to the various pools. So you can see those three amounts. Now, if we were to add up these three amounts, what would you expect the total to be? And if you say total overhead, you're correct. So the three amounts that have been assigned to each cost pool in total would be equal to the total overhead that the company has. Let's see, here we go. And then over on the far two columns of that table, we see the number of I don't know what you would best refer to that as for activity cost pool materials handling, where the number of moves is a cost driver. The actual moves for the indoor line is 600, and the actual moves for the outdoor line is 420, and so forth for each of the activity cost pools. So for quality control, indoor has 5,700 inspections and outdoor has 4,900 inspections, and so forth for machine hours for machine maintenance. So let's take a look at requirement 1. It says, suppose Carlisle uses a traditional costing system. So they're not using ABC in requirement 1. And in the traditional costing system, they're only using machine hours as the cost driver. So we don't have all of these pools with different cost drivers, just machine hours as a cost driver. It says determine the amount of overhead assigned to each product line. So in that case, if we're just using machine hours as a cost driver, we could show cost driver machine hours, and I guess we could put it here. Indoor, outdoor, and so machine hours for indoor would be 16,000, outdoor 19,000. Oops. And so what we would want to do here is show a total for both indoor and outdoor machine hours, which would be 35,000. And so the allocation of the total overhead, which is 126,265, would be based on a weighted average. I guess would be a good way to describe the allocation method in a more traditional costing system. So how that would work is we would take the total machine hours for indoor and divided by the total for the two, and that would give us that amount. And do the same for outdoor. Take the total machine hours for outdoor and divide it by the total machine hours for the two. And it says here for number one, it says do not round intermediate calculations and round your final answers to the nearest whole dollar. So we would basically need to take this factor, I guess would be a good thing to call it, a good description for it, a factor. Of course, if we were to convert it to a decimal, convert it to a percentage, this would basically be 46% or 45.71%. This amount would be 54% or 54.29%. But we need to show an allocation of the total overhead. And so what we would do would be to take the factor and multiply it by the overhead for each of these two product lines. Take the factor and multiply it by the total overhead, and this would give us the overhead allocation for each of the two product lines, and we can check the math there. Whoops. Let's try that again. We can see that the allocation amounts, the allocated amounts, add up to the total. Always important to check your totals. And we want to format these amounts as currency, 2 decimal places, and we should probably do the same for the total. Okay. So if we put those amounts in there, hopefully, let's see, we have 57,721. It says do not round intermediate and round final answers to the nearest whole dollar. So actually we should round these to the nearest whole dollar right here instead of using 2 decimal places. Yeah, so 57,721 and 68,544. Oops. 68,544, and as you can see, the total comes up automatically, 126,265. And so we want to see if that is correct. And we are okay. All right. So we can go back to our problem here and work on number 2. Now in number 2, and you know what I have here on the side is just an Excel spreadsheet that's open and live, and I just use Excel. I think Excel is a great tool to use to do your calculations anytime you're working with numbers. So that means pretty much anytime you're working accounting problems. uh, you want to uh, use a tool like Excel, electronic spreadsheet. But anyway, let's take a look at requirement number 2. Now it says calculate the activity proportions for each cost pool. So the activity proportions would basically be the same kind of calculation we just did here for number 1. Except that we're not actually doing an allocation of dollars. We're just getting the activity proportion for each cost pool, and those cost pools are these 3. So maybe we can show those 3 here, and these are the numbers of what would we call this? The numbers of for the activities for the activity cost drivers. The numbers of the activity cost drivers for each of the cost pools. That would be a good way to describe it. So let's just move that down here. Okay, so to get the proportion for each cost pool, we need a percentage. As you can see from the table here for requirement 2, they're looking for percentages. So let's show those calculations. So what we want to do here, and what might be easier, is if we were to take the word description off of each of these numbers, so that we're not working with text, we're actually working with numbers that we can do calculations with in Excel. So all we're doing is removing the text so we have a number. So we can do the division calculations that we need to do. Okay, and we can see what they are by just referring up here. And what do we, yeah, there we go. Okay, so for materials handling, so again, what we want to do is show the totals for each, because we need the let me do that again. We need the totals in order to calculate the proportions, which we show as percentages. So the total moves for material handling is 600 plus 420, 1020. The total inspections for quality control is 5700 plus 4900, or 106. And the total machine hours for machine maintenance is 16,000 plus 19,000, or 35,000. So to get the percentages, again, it's a matter of taking each one individually and dividing by the total. And since we know they're asking for percentages, it might be a good idea to actually, let's paint in that whole area. It might be a good idea to format those cells as percentages. And they want us to round to 2 decimal places, so we keep 2 decimal places here. And so this percentage we just calculated is 58.82%. We can do the same calculation for outdoor. We take the outdoor total for moves and divide it by the total moves, and we have 41.81%. And if we add these two together, what do you expect the total to be? And if you say 100, didn't do that right. Let's try that again. If we were to add these two together, what would you expect the total to be? And if you said 100, you're correct. And so we should be able to now just copy these down. Let's see if it's going to work. Yeah, I think that works okay. So for machine hours, for machine maintenance, for instance, for based on machine hours, indoor has 45.71% of the total, and outdoor has 54.29% of the total, which seems to make sense, right? 16,000, 19,000. Outdoors is a little higher percentage, and so forth. So I think if we were to simply drop these percentages in to here and drop these percentages into here, and we have rounded to 2 decimal places, I think we should be okay. So we got 58.82, 58.82, and we need to get our Excel sheet back. 53.77, 53.77, and 45.71. And for outdoor, 41.18, and for quality control, 46.23, and finally for machine maintenance, outdoor, 54.29. Okay, and then if we click on check my work, cross our fingers that what we did is correct, and as you can see, it's correct. So with that, I'm going to end this video and get it sent, and hopefully it'll make sense. If you have more questions, you need to let me know. Thanks a lot. Aloha.